Welcome, everybody! Remember, this is an interactive class, so you will need to pause the video to answer the questions or to participate in the related activities. Don't forget to pause the video and then continue. Our next and last book of the Torah is called Devarim. In our English Bibles, it is called Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy in Greek means the repetition of the law or the second giving of the law. But in Hebrew, Devarim means words. It's called words because this book tells of the last words that Moshe spoke to Israel before they went into the Promised Land. These words were a repetition of all of the commandments. We write Devarim with the Hebrew letters Dalet, Vet, Resh, Yud, and Mem. Devarim has 34 chapters and it teaches us three main things. The first one is to remember the commandments and not forget them. The second is that we have the decision to be obedient or disobedient. The third is that if we disobey, we will cause lots of bad things to happen in our lives. Moshe wrote this book too. It records the last words of Moshe, a repeat of all of the commandments. Remember that the Israelites were in the desert for 40 years, and now they were almost in the Promised Land. So Moshe repeats all the commandments so that they don't forget them, because if they disobey, they could go into exile again. Also, if they do obey, then they will have many wonderful blessings. In Devarim, Moshe retells the promises that await them, and that Adonai has fulfilled the promise that Abraham's children will become as many as the sand in the sea. He remembered them even though they sinned, and Adonai would soon fulfill his second great promise. Do you know what the second great promise made to Abraham was? Yes, that Israel would receive the land of Canaan as a heritage. Moshe tells how Adonai will help them to overcome many strong giants and how he will help them everywhere they go. In Devarim, we also see how Moshe repeats the most important commandment. That Adonai is only one and no more. We know this commandment as the Shema, and we say it like this. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. And then it says, you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. This is very important because all the nations had lots of gods, but Adonai is the only true one. Yeshua the Messiah repeats this commandment too, and he said that the purpose of his coming to this world was so that we can know the Father as the only God. This is the most important commandment. Love Adonai with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. That means that he is the most important in our lives. In Devarim, we also remember the 10 words. Do you remember how we say 10 words in Hebrew? Very good. We say Aseret HaDevarim, and we call it the 10 Commandments. In Devarim, Israel is reminded of all the sins they did in the desert. Devarim also reminds us that Adonai is good and he will renew the covenant with them again so that the Israelites can be saved. Devarim reminds us of the commandments of justice, how to treat poor people, the offerings, the annual feasts or holy days, and the day of rest or Shabbat. Shabbat has existed since the creation until today, so when we sanctify it, we are declaring to the world that Adonai exists and that he has made it special since the beginning so that we can rest and remember him. Devarim also tells us that a messenger from Adonai will appear in the future, a prophet who will be like Moshe, who will tell us Adonai's words and how to obey them. This prophet is Yeshua. Yeshua was sent from the Father as a great prophet and as the Messiah to teach us all things and show us how to live an obedient life. In Devarim, we see how the Heavenly Father made a covenant with the Israelites so they can follow his ways, and also that there are two different paths, to obey or to disobey. Obeying gives us happiness, but disobeying brings us sadness and pain. He teaches us that the future depends on our decisions. This is why he tells us to obey. Devarim teaches us that if Israel disobeys and falls into sin, the Father will restore them. It also tells us that the Israelites will be slaves of two powerful nations, first one and then the other. But after that they will come back to their land. This would happen because they would sin and then turn back to obedience. This prophecy was fulfilled when, after 70 years as slaves, they came back to the Promised Land. At the end of Devarim, we see that Moshe wouldn't guide Israel into the land, but an obedient and faithful young man would do it instead. This young man was Yehoshua, son of Nun. He was the new leader of Israel. At the very end of the book of Devarim, Moshe blesses all the Israelites and teaches them a song about what will happen in the future. After that, Moshe went up a mountain called Nebo, and he died there when he was 120 years old. Moshe was a great example because he obeyed and guided Israel to the Promised Land, but he couldn't get into the Promised Land because he made a mistake, just like we make mistakes. That is why the Father only allowed him to see the land from far away. This is also why they needed a new leader. Let's review. What have you learned? What does Devarim mean? Who wrote Devarim? How many chapters does Devarim have? What three things does Devarim teach us? Which Hebrew letters do we use to write Devarim? What commands did Moshe repeat to the Israelites in Devarim? What is the most important commandment that is taught in Devarim? What are the two paths taught in Devarim? Who was the next leader after Moshe? How long did Moshe live? Very good. Your answers were excellent. Now make a scroll with the most important things in Devarim so you don't forget. Remember to write Devarim in Hebrew. Chazak, chazak, be strong and very courageous. Study a lot and we will see each other in the next class.